It's me, Sony. Welcome back to another video. Today we are revisiting an old project from 2018. This project was one of my favorites. In fact, I think it is my best project in my personal opinion. And unfortunately, the original video got taken down. It's the only video that ever got taken down on my channel. Let's have a look at this.
It's me, Mario.
And as you can see, it's my Mario 64 Reimagined project.
Hello.
Now, the reason that I was really proud of this project, in fact, and I'm going to click Mario before we carry on, so that he gets his headphones, is because my aim with this project was to try and recreate basically every element of what makes Mario amazing. So I was trying to actually reproduce the mechanics, but also the style of everything that you see in a Mario game, especially the modern Mario game. So obviously Mario Odyssey. In fact, if you quickly search on Google for Mario Odyssey lighting, you'll have a look. You can have a look at this image that I posted on Reddit a while ago on the Casual Nintendo subreddit, which I was showcasing how I tried to reproduce Mario's lighting exactly. And you can see that's actually in this project here. So that's the menu lighting from Mario Odyssey. And in fact, if you watch carefully, Mario actually animates to the music. So watch him react. And you can see his emotion, he really loves it. What I tried to do was actually animate him to match the music as it changes, as it goes. And I actually informed the guy who made the music that that's what I was going to do. And yeah, so they agreed to allow me to put it into this project here. And the same for the inside of the castle walls, which is a remix as well in the game. And watch Mario just bounce to it now. Yeah, as you can see in the credits, I put a bunch of things here. Obviously, I didn't actually model the character models myself, but everything else, including this logo here, was custom modeled and textured by me. You can see in the options, it's all just basic stuff. So let's pop into the game and have a look. I animated everything here and modeled everything except for the character models myself. So let's have a look at everything here. So here we have the intro, of course. I tried to make the letter a little bit different, but it looks pretty nice and neat and follows the styling. So the major thing here wasn't just the smoothness of the animation, which I was trying to reproduce that motion that you get in a game that's quite literally more than 20 years old now. But on top of that, it's just the lighting as well. The texturing is not exactly perfect, but I wanted to try and get an understanding of how the new game looks. You may have noticed the actual animation swap there, and I'd actually changed the animations because a lot of people weren't happy with the running animation I'd made into the game. Now, I mentioned in the original video that I did not want to update this at all, and that's all it was. It was a single project, just these scenes that I built, and that's it. It was never going to be updated. It was never going to be a full game. Unfortunately, popularity can get your game shut down. Of course, that's how it is. That's fan game development for you. Now, I actually replicated all of the signboards in the game. So, well, in this sort of outer world. So they don't actually make any sense for this project, but you can see that they actually have all the text that the game originally had. Now, my aim with this was to get the motion of Mario correct. So you can see not only are his animations pretty fluid, but they actually have a lot of blending together. So for example, here you've got your jump, and even the jump itself, it's not just a static animation. It's actually quite fluid in the way that it starts up, and I'll show you that in a little while in slow motion. But for now, you can see he's got all of his animations, all of his moveset, including the backflips, side flip, the dive, the get up from the dive, and even the breakdance moves, which a lot of people complained about as well. Like, why isn't that in? It was in right from the beginning. I don't know why people thought that. But there you go. So you can see I've reproduced all of this area. I tried to model the same level structure, but at the same time, I actually changed the architecture for it a little bit. So this project was mainly for the sake of learning. I wanted to learn as much as I could in terms of gaming, in terms of platforming, sorry, and as well as the actual programming of platforming games, also the actual level structure and level design as well. So I actually did quite a bit just to make it all fit together, because obviously the original game, you can't actually see the courtyard from the front area, and from the courtyard area you can't see the front side, because they don't actually fit together perfectly. So I actually changed that and tried to fit it together with a little bit of architectural changes. You can see here that there's actually a few changes in the courtyard as well. And I wanted everything to look quite nice, so I actually took the same design idea from the sort of fountain in Mario Odyssey, which is in Mushroom Kingdom. Well, in the, what is it called? Mushroom Kingdom Galaxy? I don't know what it's called. But yeah, so I took that sort of fountain design and placed the star inside that. You can see the plaque here. And then I extended the courtyard as well, just to make it look and feel a little more sort of castle-like. Now, regarding those animations, once again, what I wanted to do was really get a blend in there. And one of the things that I'd removed just before actually putting the original video up was this slow motion button, which I was using to test these animations. Because what I wanted to do was get the fluidity between them the best I could. So it's actually the transitions that were really something that I was trying to push to get right. You can see here, even with the wall jump, so here you can see he actually moves into the jump, lands on the wall quite fluidly. You can see his hat bounce up and everything, and then even the landing animation, there's a different one for each jump. So you can see here, and then if you do a long jump, for example, let's just get him a little bit more speed. You can see his hat flops around and then you can see he actually has to hit the ground quite hard to stop himself. Now, of course, if you carry on running after you've done a long jump, Mario just carries on, as you can see, and you can see his animation blends into a different animation when he's running quickly. So here's his regular animation, and then when he's actually running fast, he actually puts his hands up. So that's something that I took the idea from Mario Odyssey. So again, I was trying to get that feel that Mario goes for, which is really incredible. I love how they've done everything, and the incredible sort of attention to detail that a Mario game has. I wanted to try and get to that stage. I'll never be as good as that, but hey, the aim is to get as close as I could. Let's have a look inside the castle. So obviously you can enter from either door, from the front or the back here. And here we go. One of the main things that I was focusing on when building this was, firstly, I actually placed the whole of the original level structure in a scene in my 3D program, and then I built this around that so that it matches the shape exactly. And then on top of that, I actually built and changed the shaping and modified things to style themselves and look a little bit more like Mario Odyssey, in the style of Mario Odyssey, but if it was Mario 64. Each of these paintings is actually not made by me. They are custom paintings though, so they're taken from the internet, and you can actually see the credits for them in the game world. But the main thing that I was focusing on in this entire game here, in this interior of the castle, was the lighting. You can see I've actually got dynamic lights for every single lamp, and you can see they even give shadows. So here you can see here, there's actually a shadow. I've got the mouse showing anyway. You can see a shadow coming from this lamp here. But there's also another shadow coming from the dynamic light, which you can see here. So coming from the sunlight coming through the window. There's more than that though going on in the scene, because each of these lights is actually also a baked light. So there's actually 2 lights for every light you see, except for these. The ones in here are actually all baked. So these are not dynamic lights at all. They just glow on Mario because he runs nearby. You can see there's a little bit of glitching in the way the movement system works, but unfortunately I can't really use this project, so I'll be updating this kind of movement system by using it in my Tubby Supercat project, which was what all this was always about. I was trying to get a better movement system for Tubby Supercat. Now you can see here there's actually more lights going on. Anyway, let's jump back onto the lighting and see that there's actually more lights going on in the room than you see in the scene. There's one right in the center of each room which produces this sort of shadow that follows Mario across the whole room, even though there isn't directly a light showing that. So this shadow here is not actually coming from this lamp on the side here. These lamps, the dynamic shadows, are very, very limited. So you can see his shadows going sideways here. The dynamic range of these, the actual affecting range, is very, very short. And that way I save performance, because when Mario's standing here, he's actually not being affected by that light at all. It's only when he's standing close that it actually affects him, and then of course the shadow as well. And you can see the shadow cuts off around here, because that's the whole distance of the light. However, the light does shine across the whole room and light these areas up, and you can see here that there's actually a glow on this pillar. That's because there's a baked light that has a much larger range, and that's how I covered the lighting in these rooms. And I wanted to do that right across the board. And you can see here where the bloom actually glows a lot more when I move into this room from that room. That's because I made sure that this room was actually quite dim, and then allowed the exposure control to glow a little more. I actually did a little bit of customization to these rooms here, and you can see that I've actually put credits for the actual images under the posts here. But that's not the case for all of the paintings. So instead, what I did for one of the rooms, I actually wanted to change what it was, because it didn't make any sense to me to have a long corridor that led to nowhere, that was just a dark and dingy corridor. So I added actual windows in that corridor, shortened it very slightly, and turned it into an image gallery. So here we've got an actual picture gallery here, and what I did was I used all of the pictures that I've used in each of the other rooms and gave credits for each of the pictures. So that's what I wanted to do. There's actually one more going on, and you can tell when you look at this image here that that's actually a liquid image. So again, I wanted to capture some of the beauty of the original game, and made one of those paintings actually jump throughable. So there we go, we've got one more painting in the back. And this is that sort of hidden room as a result. There's no sort of animated floor, and of course there's no levels to go into. They're all just paintings. It's just a demo of the actual movement system. This project was entirely designed for the sake of me learning how to build a better platformer. Oh, the mouse is on screen here, let's get it off. And yeah, you can see that the GUI itself as well also kind of works. The coins here do work, but the stars, obviously there are none, so it's just a number sitting there. And I made sure there's actually 3 digits on that number, just to highlight that there's actually more than 100 stars in the game. But again, this is not a full game or anything. It's just a little demonstration of it's kind of my best showreel in a way. And this room is quite special for the lighting as well, because you can see how each of the windows has its own dynamic light. And again, of course, they also have their own baked light to really glow the whole room. Each window actually has multiple baked lights, so there's actually one across 2 of them, showing sort of glowing the whole room area, and then one in each of them to give a more sharp light. And that's happening everywhere you go in this entire scene, and that goes for these windows as well, and the ones in the Pom-Pom room over here, this window here. So I actually added a window because it just didn't make any sense to have a room with no windows in a castle. I wanted it to feel really glowy, really bright and beautiful. And once again, you can see that one dynamic light in the center of the room. Even though you can't actually see it, it is there. So you can see here, if I slow-mo the game, when Mario jumps up here, he glows quite a bit because there's actually a light right there in the center. And you can see how his shadow sort of moves around that sort of area here. It's actually coming to the left here and going to the right there, because there's a light right here in the center. There we go. And then of course there's this dynamic light here, which you can see glows Mario, and then another dynamic light for each of these lamps. So yeah, there was an aim to get a nice look to everything here. There's also one more light to keep everything slightly sparkly no matter how many dynamic lights are touching them, and that is on the camera. And you can see that specular highlight there at the bottom as I move the camera. So that makes sure that there's a specular highlight on everything, including Mario, no matter what you do and no matter where you go. Now, one of the cool things that I was working on was actually the camera motion as well, because a platforming game by itself is all very good, but having no motion on the camera, not good motion on the camera, is kind of frustrating. So you can see here that the camera actually doesn't lift up every time I jump. It doesn't follow Mario exactly. It also has a little bit of intelligent motion on where it goes and where it places Mario on screen. You can see Mario is on the center of the screen here when he's running forward, but if he looks to the right, the camera moves to the right. The same applies to the left. It doesn't move forward or back, but it does move left or right. And that just gives you a little bit more anticipation of what you're looking at when you're running around the level. So again, this is all stuff that I've learned from Mario 64, from Mario Odyssey, from other Mario games. To be honest, I've been studying Mario since I ever started game development. He's the reason I started game development. Him and Sonic the Hedgehog. These are the only reason I truly went into game development in the first place. So I've been studying these games since the Super Nintendo, since maybe even the NES. And that's kind of what I wanted to do, was be able to do this one day. If I couldn't do this eventually, then what was the point of all that study? And this is kind of the time that I wanted to put this video up again, because I started that sort of how it works series recently, where I kind of just tell you everything that I've been learning by playing games. And that's something that I wanted to do here. So this entire project is based off of stuff that I learned from playing these games. And it's kind of a very special project, which in turn leads to another very special project, which is Tubby Super Cat, which is my own personal IP, which is my own platformer. And that kind of is where we end it here, really. This project was my literal favorite project to build, and it was kind of my favorite project to showcase as well. It's sad that the original video got taken down, and unfortunately no one can actually play any of the changes that I've made, because I'm not actually going to upload it again. As I mentioned in the first time I actually put this up, I was never going to update it, and that is the case. I did actually change the way the jumps work very slightly. I increased the jump height on every jump, including the distance on the long jump. I didn't actually increase the speed that they jump out though. What I did is I in fact changed the controlled jump. So when you just tap the jump button, you can see Mario gives a little low jump. But when you hold, he actually carries on pushing. And that's the amount that I increased. So even though every other video of this game will show Mario, his long jump looks a little bit weird, his jumps look a little bit short, this is actually the only video that you'll ever see where Mario jumps correctly in this project. Yeah, unfortunately I won't be putting up an update to this game, but hey, I just wanted to show the remaining part of what I changed right after the build went up, and unfortunately this is the only video that I really will ever rejoin this project. But that's pretty much the end of that. Hopefully I'll be implementing a lot of this stuff in Tubby Super Cat. As I mentioned in the last Tubby Super Cat video, I was actually scrapping all the code from that game, and that's why I released the demo, so that people could play what I'd already built. Because I am going to be using the character control system that I built for this. I spent quite a long time actually perfecting this one, if it can be called perfect. There's lots to do still. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to do. This video was just a bit of a nostalgia trip back to 2018, which is also a nostalgia trip back to my childhood, really. A game that kind of got me into everything I do. I actually use the character control systems and ideas and systems that I've learned from Mario games in everything that I've built that isn't physics based. So all of my projects since had been using a character control idea and collision system based off of Mario, and that goes for VR projects as well. That's something that I've been doing for a very long time. Everything that I learned from Mario has been with me throughout every project that I've been building, and that's why it's kind of so special to me. Thanks very much for watching. This was a bit of a trip back to an older project, but I think it really does kind of stand up still to everything that is out. And I wanted to put it up since right now Super Mario 64 he's become a little bit popular again because of a little bit of sneakiness going on where people have been messing with the actual source code that came from the original game. So there we go. That's all to do with the timing. But that kind of ends this video. Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye.